again.
Sure.
All right. Hey, Base Camp people, we are here. I have the pleasure of being here to speak with Dr. Scott Kelly. He is an amazing chiropractor in San Antonio,
That's accurate.
Texas. And we can't wait to have him at Base Camp again this year. Last year, he blew it out of the water for our base campers. They loved his talk. And we want to be able to help animal chiropractors who are veterinarians and chiropractors understand that both professions really need the help and support to grow their practice, to make that practice work the way they want to. And I think Dr. Kelly is an exemplary kind of chiropractor. He has a great practice. And in addition to that, he's, what is it, like the diplomate in?
So I'm in the middle of the Diplomate in Philosophic Chiropractic Standards. We just call it the Philosophy Diplomate. It's a 3-year program. I'm finishing up the second year. Next year, I'll complete the third year with defending a thesis on chiropractic philosophy.
Wow, that's amazing. That's pretty awesome. So some of you might wonder, what else is there to write about chiropractic philosophy? How can you write more? And just fill us in a little bit.
Sure. So actually at the most recent weekend for the Diplomate, we all put there's about 40 of us in the class. And we all put our different topics up that we're going to be writing on, and everyone went around the room and threw questions up and sort of try to poke holes in each other's topics. Say, hey, did you consider think about this or adding on to this? For myself, I'll share briefly because it's a big topic. It's called the Great Undertow. Actually, mine would be the second Great Undertow. BJ wrote a book that was published after his death. He had sent the script to a friend of his. That friend of his kept it in a filing cabinet for a long time. It eventually made its way to publication. And it talked about what was going on in the profession in the 1920s, and how there's this undertow within the profession to sort of divide the student or the practicing field docs from the schools and vice versa. And really that's either been a continuation that's been going on since the 20s, so 100 years, or there was a second coming of that, I would argue, in the mid 1970s. And so my 1970s forward is what I'm going to be writing about. And what does that have to do with philosophy? So that is the challenge for me, is to implement or show how if these individuals of this great undertow had an understanding of our philosophy, then I don't think we'd be in the position that we're currently in.
Awesome. What a great topic, especially given all the trappings of what's going on in our country right now. That's
Absolutely.
pretty amazing. And so scary if we knew all the things. Anyway, are you going to share some of that with us at Base Camp?
So that I won't get into too much because I have way too much information to share at Base Camp that I won't have time to get into that. Okay. Do you want me to speak a little bit on a little preview of what we'll talk about at Base Camp?
Yeah, a little preview would be awesome.
Sure. So I will need to cover a couple things from last year because I have to give a refresher, because if you recall from last year at the very end, I discussed about this year going into what's called the practical cycle. So I'm going to be going further into cycles. So we have the basic safety pin cycle. So brain cell, tissue cell, connection this way, connection that way. Break in the safety pin is an interference with the mental impulse, i.e. a subluxation. As animal chiropractors, we locate and correct that with an adjustment and restoring that brain-body connection. That's a simple cycle. The normal complete cycle that we went over last year, I will have to review with you again. There's 31 steps to it, and we have to understand these steps inside and out, because the practical cycle is 4 different cycles that use these same steps with a different application. So the normal complete cycle is 100% perfect. It is brain cell to tissue cell and back with perfect harmony. The body is in complete coordination with self. And so that's the normal complete cycle. What we're going to step into is called the vertimer cycle. and then the compensatory cycle, and then we get into the restoration cycle. So there's a couple others in there. I'm not going to give away everything, but it's going to step by step process of one, how a universal force comes into the body, and the body is unable to adapt this universal force, so i.e. we subluxate. It shows the vertebra, so the vertebra, how that process is recognized by the brain, and then how that subluxation occurs, what the brain and the body has to do to compensate for said subluxation. And then the beautiful part is the restoration cycle, is when, i.e. the adjustic thrust is implemented to break up that cycle to once again restore us to the normal complete cycle.
Awesome. It's going to be exciting, I can tell. And people will be taking notes fervently.
Feverishly.
Yes, I was coming up with the word fast, right? Really fast. So that's going to be a really awesome way to show that there is a structure to a practice. And
Absolutely.
that if a practice doesn't have that structure, you can be lost, right? You can get distracted. You can, you can definitely get sidetracked, look a squirrel. I should go do something else. Right. And so that's part of what we want to be able to help these animal chiropractors to do, is recognize that once you have that structure, then you can work within that structure and do other things, but you have to follow that structure to its end.
Absolutely. And the really key part is that the basis of what we're going to discuss in just a couple of weeks is going to be the animal chiropractor's role, and they have to have that deep understanding. This is not a patient communication talk in a sense. The reason I say that is because you're not going to be regurgitating what we're going to discuss. You are going to have a absolute crystal clear understanding of what's going on in the body on a step-by-step process, so that you can address any question, any hesitation, any balk that anybody can throw at you regarding why their animal needs to be checked for subluxation. And it's because you'll have this understanding, and you'll be able to put into action what we're taking away, or what we're going to be going over. You'll put into action so that you can have those takeaways, so you can address any concern that anybody's ever going to have when coming into your practice.
That sounds awesome, because I think that's a fear a lot of people who are coming into animal chiropractic have. How do I deal with the naysayers? How do I deal with colleagues who don't, especially in the veterinary profession, colleagues who don't believe in animal chiropractic? We always try to say it's not a belief system. It just is a thing.
So this is the beautiful thing. What we're discussing, it can't be argued against. It's a step-by-step process, and it's broken down. I mean, I think the total number of steps we're going to be going through, if I exclude the 31 steps from the normal complete cycle, I think we're talking about 147 steps.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So now, if we have that understanding of the NCC, of the normal complete cycle, it takes those same steps. So I'm using the same verbiage over and over and over and over again. So it will seem a bit daunting, but the way I could describe our talk, it's going to start really slow and methodical, and then we are full sprint by the end of our talk.
Awesome. Well, I hope everybody's ready and excited as we are. We can't wait. Animal Care Base Camp is going to be so much fun this year. We've got people who are coming back. We've got people who have never been. And I think they're going to definitely get their money and their time's worth.
Absolutely.
So if you're a veterinarian or a chiropractor or an animal chiropractor, and you have a practice, and it's, maybe you've been trudging along in it for years and years, and it's just not getting to where you want it to go. Once you apply this formula, you will be able to do so many more things, because within that formula, within that structure, there's a lot of freedom. And that freedom allows you to bring in the right kind of clients and bring in the right kind of team members, and all be on the same track. And just think about it. If only one of you is trying to, push that truck out of the mud, it's really hard. But if you've got a whole team and your clients jumping in, it's easy peasy. And so if you're interested in joining us for Basecamp Pro, find us at animalchiropracticeducation.com, click on shop, and you'll find Basecamp Pro right there under shop. We'll drop the link. It'll be in this ad somewhere, so you'll be able to find it easily. And you'll get to hear the rest of the story from Dr. Kelly and be ready to write notes really fast because you're going to want to know every word. Thank you, Dr. Kelly, for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We can't wait to hear the rest of the information connected. What is it, 141?
147 steps, I believe, if I remember correctly.
147 steps. I'll have to remember that. 140, I'm writing it down. 147. Okay. We might have to actually have pre-written notes for that. But we'll see. The only way you'll know is attend Basecamp Pro 2024. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Kelly.
Thank you.